Good afternoon once again. Today is Wednesday, the 30th of December, 2020, and this is the English language summary of the briefing here at the Center for COVID Situation Administration, or CCSA. Of course, today is the last working day of 2020, and we're all looking forward to celebrating the New Year holidays. Of course, the CCSA will be here to keep you updated throughout the New Year period. We'll be here tomorrow as well, and every day actually. And we recommend, of course, that you avoid necessary travel to other provinces and celebrate the New Year best in this situation is to celebrate best at home with your family, as the spokesperson had mentioned just now. So globally, there are now over 82 million accumulated cases of COVID around the world. In Thailand here, we continue to monitor the situation closely. As mentioned yesterday, the provincial governors will be categorizing each village and district in their provinces into different levels of the disease control zones to effectively contain the virus. And I'll have some information on that, in particular some villages and districts in Rayong province that have already been categorized according to the zones, aside from the province level, the village level now. And of course, if no additional measures are taken, or if enforcement is at a low rate, the disease control experts have warned that we can reach many thousands of daily new cases by mid-January. Just to recap on the levels and measures, as mentioned, of course, level 1 is the highly controlled zones. And level 2, controlled zone, level 3, under high surveillance, level 4, under surveillance. The Ministry of Interior will soon, perhaps today, will be updating on this categorization of the different provinces around the country. There are new provinces in certain zones or certain levels distinguished from the other levels in the past. So we'll have more update on that to you later on. In Bangkok in particular, I'll move to Bangkok. The Bangkok Metropolitan Administration announced that there have been new clusters of COVID detected in Bangkok. The first cluster from a factory in Bang Khun Tien district in Bangkok, where 7 workers have been found infected. The second cluster is linked with 3 entertainment and restaurant venues where 22 people have been infected. And the BMA has asked for all owners and business establishments to strictly comply with the disease control measures. And we have slides coming up for you also on the criteria and guidelines for people at risk. If you have visited areas of risk and been close to confirmed cases of COVID, or live in the same house as infected persons, or use the same items or utensils, or took the same public transport mode, please strictly quarantine yourself at home for 14 days. If you develop symptoms, immediately report yourself to the nearest clinic or hospital. For Rayong province, following the number of cases in Rayong, quite a high number, so 56 new cases, the governor of that province, Rayong, has ordered for the closure of schools, shopping malls, pubs and bars in that province, also for the cooperation from members of the public to restrict their movement. He has also, we have also Mueang district, or the municipal district, in the level 1 zone already in Rayong, the highly controlled zone. Now the governor has updated that and elevated 4 districts or ampere to a controlled zone, or to level 2 zone, after the discovery of new cases in the following districts in that province. They are Ban Chang, Ban Khai, and Klang districts in Rayong province. Furthermore, 3 districts have been moved to the high surveillance zone, or level 3 zone in Rayong. They are the following districts: Ampere Pluok Dang, Ampere Wang Chan, and Ampere Khao Shamao. Moving on Rayong still, the Prime Minister visited Rayong province yesterday afternoon to boost the morale of frontline healthcare workers in that province and to inspect the medical facilities there. The government, of course, continues to strengthen the preparedness and response to the new wave across the country. And you see some slides there of the high-ranking officials visiting Rayong province. Yes, so moving on to the general situation and the number of cases that we have. New confirmed cases for today, we have 250. Yes, as you can see on the slide shown on screen now, making the cumulative number of cases 6,690 in Thailand thus far. We have new recoveries, which is 28, making the total recoveries so far 4,212. And accumulated totals of fatalities remain at 61. On the observation of the new cases, out of this number of 250, there are 241 which are local transmissions. And 241 local transmissions, we have 2 in that number which are from active case finding in Nonthaburi. Aside from the 241, 8 were detected within state quarantine. So that makes 249 already. And 1 additional was detected from outside the state quarantine. So that totals 250, which is a new number for today. There are now COVID cases in 48 provinces. New provinces with COVID cases include Ranong, Amnat Charoen province, and Trat province. The majority of new cases being from local transmissions, as mentioned, 241. Of these, 9 cases of local transmission are linked to the Samut Sakhon cluster. 3 cases are linked to the Rayong cluster. And almost 200 cases of local transmission are currently under investigation. We have a slide coming up to you to remind you about DMHTT. Of course, still necessary, very important to wear masks, and keep in mind this acronym, DMHTT, which stands for distancing, mask wearing, hand washing, temperature checking, and of course, Thai Chana, the platform. An additional piece of information is about the cabinet meeting that we had yesterday. The meeting yesterday approved the registration of illegal migrant workers from Cambodia, Laos, PDR, and Myanmar, who will be allowed to stay in Thailand for 2 years as part of the measures to contain COVID. An online registration will be open from the 25th of January 2021 until the 13th of February, and allow the migrant workers from those 3 countries to stay in Thailand until the 16th of February 2023. After the period of online registration ends, the health officials will conduct a physical checkup and COVID test on registered migrant workers. The expenses for these tests and the required 2-year health insurance amounting to 7,200 baht per person will be covered by the workers themselves or by their employers. The Prime Minister has also instructed security agencies and the Ministry of Labor to inspect business establishments in the fight against illegal smuggling of migrant workers. Furthermore, the cabinet meeting yesterday also approved an 11.3 billion baht budget to address the new wave. And this will be spent on various projects, around 10 projects, grouped into projects concerning preventive measures, around 4.3 billion baht, treatment of patients, around 7 billion baht, the support of medical equipment, around 27 million baht, which will reflect the continued efforts to strengthen our public health infrastructure. So on migrant workers, following the spike on COVID cases in Samut Sakhon province, more than 2,000 workers from Cambodia have returned home and are currently in quarantine facilities near the border, and none have tested positive for COVID so far. We are pleased to learn from the Thai ambassador in Cambodia that Prime Minister of Cambodia, Prime Minister Hun Sen, during his televised address yesterday, thanked all relevant Thai authorities for their rapid, non-discriminatory attention to Cambodian workers, including, he also mentioned the attention of the Prime Minister of Thailand, Prime Minister Prayut as well, to migrant workers, Cambodian workers, and of course for the measures to prevent the virus from spreading into Cambodia. He stated, and I quote, This is a high point in our relations as neighboring countries, end of quote. Of course, Thailand's priority remains as to continue to contain the virus, which can only be achieved through a whole of society approach and through close cooperation with our neighbors. We have asked Cambodian workers in Thailand not to move around in the country or return to Cambodia yet, which the Cambodian government has been cooperating with us in this regard. A little bit on the COVID vaccination and quarantine, the public health news briefing yesterday afternoon. In that briefing, someone asked whether people who had been vaccinated against COVID overseas would have to enter the quarantine system when they travel to Thailand. And the answer to this is that there are currently no international agreements on the efficacy of the effectiveness of COVID-19 vaccine. Therefore, as of now, people who have been vaccinated abroad in other countries would still have to enter quarantine when they arrive in Thailand. Many countries do not have compulsory quarantine, but we do. We always have had that compulsory quarantine since the beginning of the year. Moving on, just a brief information, additional information on Thailand Plus. I will have a infographic up there for you as well to introduce the recently launched application called Thailand Plus. This is particularly to facilitate the tracking of foreign nationals, foreign tourists coming in Thailand. It functions like Mo Chana, as we mentioned yesterday, but will also be linked to information from the Foreign Ministry regarding the Certificate of Entry, COE, for international tourist arrivals, international arrivals. And this application will screen and trace tourists from their arrival into Thailand from that moment to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Similar to the GPS system, it will provide information on the whereabouts of tourists while in Thailand and assist authorities in reaching out to individuals sooner in a timely manner in case any of them have been found to be contracted with the virus while staying in Thailand. Upon their arrival, of course, the Thailand Plus application for foreign tourists will be introduced to them. Just a bit of observations. The current wave of infections spreading increasingly at a faster rate than expected, faster rate than the previous wave. In the next 7 days, as we recalled yesterday, the dangerous 7 days of danger. These 7 days, of course, will be crucial and determine whether more and more stringent measures and restrictions will need to be imposed or not. So therefore, we continue to urge the public, Thai nationals, foreign nationals, those who call Thailand home, our friends, to comply with these measures so we can overcome this challenge. Just additional points I mentioned yesterday, and I'll repeat today again. We have these daily press briefings on a daily basis. The archived version of the English language briefings can be found on the YouTube channel of the Foreign Ministry, and you see that on screen in case you would like to refer to the past English language briefings which have been going on since the month of March this year. The Public Health Ministry's news briefing also yesterday afternoon. There was one highlight in which the Permanent Secretary of Public Health mentioned that wearing masks is the equivalent to daily vaccinations against COVID right now. And it is the best defense. The best defense is self-defense. I'll just add a little bit before I end about the Q&A, which Dr. Tawisin had addressed just now. First is, of course, we'll have additional measures for the level 1 and level 2 zones, including not to allow congregation of people in risk areas or assembly in risk areas, which will further pose as a dangerous action actually, and will potentially cause more infection. So these will be applied to zone levels 1 and 2, and as I mentioned, we'll update the provinces or districts that are in level 1 and 2 in due course. The Interior Ministry, I believe, will come out with that around 3 p.m. today, the updated list of provinces. Another question which Dr. Tawisin addressed was about local airlines. Of course, many people had been booking airline tickets to travel during this time. The CCSA has been coordinating with around 6 local airlines for this preparation, and they have cooperated well with the requests. In terms of, for example, changeable dates of flights, as well as without any cost, changeable routing, or changing the date of the ticket, but then keeping the credit, the amount of money credit for the next flight, for another flight in the future. So this has been in discussion, and the 6 local airlines have been prepared for this. Lastly, there was a question about the travel restrictions from Zone 1 provinces, such as from Samut Sakhon. For example, if you travel from Samut Sakhon to other provinces, would there be quarantine measures intra or inter provinces? The answer that the spokesperson gave was that this would be up to the provincial disease control committee. They would have to be the authority to announce that. Of course, in provinces that are in level 1 or level 2, that would be relevant. So before you travel to any province, it's best to check with the information there. There might be some inconvenience, because sometimes these announcements might be announced when they find risk or high risk cases. For example, if they found a high risk case yesterday, the announcement might be yesterday afternoon or this morning, which of course travelers would have to be prepared for that during this time. But then again, we have advised you that the best way to spend New Year countdown, is to spend it at home. That's the safest for now. The spokesperson ended, of course, with that when you travel to provinces, you would have to abide by the local regulations as well. As people say, when in Rome, do as Romans do. So when in Thailand, of course, please do as the Thais do. Please help each other to stay safe, help each other in providing information on your travels, help each other by understanding the measures that we have, the sacrifice that we all have in, for example, spending New Year countdown with our friends and family at home. So this is all I have for today. We'll see you again tomorrow, the last day of the year, which is 31st of January 2020. It's been a very challenging year, but it's been a year that we have displayed our strength and our unity as one, as Thai people, as Thai society, as the whole spectrum of Thai society, including our foreign friends as well. We hope to remain strong in the year ahead. So thank you very much for following the CCSA briefings, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Happy holidays. สวัสดีครับ
กราบขอบพระคุณนะคะท่าน